Welcome everyone to entreBuilder 101. This is an introduction to building WordPress sites using the entreBuilder tool, and entreBuilder is a member of the EntreTools suite of products and services. My name's Norm Sash, and we're going to get started right away. So what is entreBuilder? As I mentioned before, it's a tool that runs within WordPress and allows you to create various web pages. It's used as a replacement for the standard WordPress editor. The standard WordPress editor, if you're familiar with it, will still be there and still be accessible, so you can use that one. But this acts as sort of an alternative to it and a much easier one. What entreBuilder does is it provides a visual page building experience. You're able to move things around much easier. You're able to edit right on the screen and get a lot better feedback as to what you're designing versus the standard page builder that's within WordPress. Also, entreBuilder has the ability for templates, and then we're going to show you how you can use templates to greatly speed up your page building and adding additional information to it for functionality and design. So that's what entreBuilder is. It's all about getting WordPress pages created that look great and function great. So how do you access entreBuilder? Well, first of all, it is a premium site builder. It does not come with WordPress. It's something that you do have to purchase. If you have some of our hosting packages, we do include entreBuilder with it. So it's there for your site as part of the hosting package. And it's also important to note that if you have an existing site and you're moving it over and now you're adding entreBuilder on top of that, it's not going to change your existing pages. You can add it to your existing pages and from say that point forward convert them over and use entreBuilder on them. But if you don't do anything with your existing pages, they'll function exactly the way they have in the past. And that helps you to migrate a site over. You don't have to do everything all at once. You can do it piecemeal and as time goes on and or as you add new pages to it. It's also important to note along those lines that entreBuilder is enabled and disabled on a per page basis. It's enabled site-wide, so it's when you turn entreBuilder on for your website, it's available. But it's also not actually turned on a page until you go to that page and say, I want to use entreBuilder on this page. So that makes it very flexible and lets it live alongside the existing WordPress installs. So WordPress pages in working with entreBuilder, it's important to understand that those WordPress pages are built using rows and columns. So this kind of creates this grid of cells on your page. So for example, right here where you'll see that I've got a grid, I have two rows here. I have one row going right here, and this row has 4 columns in it. So one row, 4 columns, we've got 4 cells. Immediately below that, I have another row, and it has 3 columns in it. These cells are then used as sort of containers for holding modules that are placed in there. Modules are things, building modules. It could be a module for text. It could be a module for an image. It could be a module for an opt-in box. Those are all modules, and they get placed within these cells. And when we talk about containers, and we'll cover this a little bit later also, but everywhere where you kind of see the lines in here and stuff, the dotted lines here, and then you'll notice I've got a row here. These are all containers that you're going to be able to put things into as kind of a holding area. And the other thing just to note here really quickly, we'll cover this in the demonstration, but modules and columns can be moved or copied into different locations. So it's not that you drop a module someplace and put it into a cell or into a column or into a row and then it's locked there forever. You'll be able to drag it and move it someplace else. Actually, before we get into this, why don't we just kind of jump over to the page builder, and I'll give you a little bit of a quick demo about these rows and columns. So right here I have a new WordPress site. There's nothing in it, it's brand new. We have entreBuilder installed, but that's pretty much all that we have in here. And we have one sample page. Now, if you're familiar with WordPress, you know that you can come over and hover over the sample page and you'll see an action menu that comes up with your typical ones like edit, trash, view. You'll also notice there's a new item here, entreBuilder. However, if I was to draw, so this is, excuse me, this is one way that we can get directly into entreBuilder with the page, is we just click on entreBuilder here to edit the page. But before we do that, I'm just going to drop into edit here, and you'll see the very familiar WordPress editor in here. And if I was to just simply come down here and just simply type in something like, this is a great page that I'm building. Okay, and I'll just go ahead and center that. Boom. There, we've got it. So now if we were to view this page, we'll come up here and do a quick view on this page. Oops, I did not update that, so let me go back. I'll just do an update on it. And then we'll come back and look at this page. We'll do a refresh on the page. And you'll see it says sample page, and this is a great page that I'm building. Okay, so pretty simple there. So let's go back to this page. So now, let's say I want to drop into entreBuilder. You'll notice another tab here. It says entreBuilder on it. If I click that, it's going to launch the actual entreBuilder for me and bring up a new layout. And you'll see here it says entreBuilder demo, and it has the thing here called this is a great page. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and delete this just to say I want to start from scratch. So if we're starting from a blank page, I've got nothing in this page. It just drop a row layout or module to get started. I've got a container here. There's nothing on this page. So what we want to do is we want to create this type of environment where I've got a row that has places to put 4 different things and a second row that has place to put 3 different things. And that's what I want to create. So the way to do that is come up here to add content. We'll click add content, row layouts. You'll see this is really easy. I wanted 4 columns, so I just click on 4 columns and drag it into the area that I want to put and drop it. And right there, you see now I have a row that's got 4 different columns. If I now want to get the 3 columns underneath there, I'll do the same thing. I'll just click on add content. I'll go to row layouts, 3 columns, click and drag it and drop it. Now you'll notice if I move up or down with these, it gives me different options for where to place it. So I can place it above my 4 columns. I can place it below my 4 columns. Now you'll notice the red around that. That red signifies it's a that's another container. That's a row container by itself. So there'll be effectively it's saying I want to group these 3 columns with these 4 columns in the same group, or I can drag it down a little bit further and put it into its own grouping. Well, I want to just put it right up with this previous grouping. And so there you go. Now you see that I have the 2 different areas. And what you will see here, if I go over this and hover over this, you'll notice that I've got this container on the outside here. So that container is a row container. And then within the row container, I have additional ones where I have each individual cell where I can drop different components. And on these 4, and then I have another area where I can drop 3 different cells. So that's how easy it is to add component areas. If we go back and take another look here, let's move on. And let's talk a little bit about the other components that you can add. So when you're building something like this in a page, I showed you how to add row layouts and such. That doesn't have any content in it yet. So the content and such is built using modules. Now there's both basic and advanced modules. There's also something called widgets. The basic and advanced modules are actually part of entreBuilder. They come with the entreBuilder product, and they have various functionality with them. Widgets are actually the WordPress widgets, and we include with entreBuilder a way to drop widgets into a page, which is really cool, because if you're familiar with WordPress, you know that widgets are really only set to go into sidebars. You know, if you see a blog page and you got a page and then you got that a bar on a area on the right or an area on the left, or you have a sign-up form or an image or your latest post or whatever. Well, those are all widgets that go into those sidebar areas. With entreBuilder, you can actually take some of those widgets and actually drop them into the content area of your pages. Very powerful there. The thing to note here is that because the basic and advanced modules are part of entreBuilder, that means that they're going to have various styling capabilities or functionality that is enhanced or enabled by entreBuilder. Widgets, because they're actually outside of entreBuilder, are going to have their own styling areas, and they might not have some of the features that are in entreBuilder. But they're still very, very powerful because you can take any widget and drop into a page. So let's go over and see what it's like to use some of these modules. So here I am on my page, and let's say I want to add in what I'm going to do is add a nice little title up at the top here. I just want that to expand across the top. So the thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go into add content again. I'm going to go into row layouts, and I'm just going to take a 1 column and just drop it up here at the top. So now you'll see I've got a page that's got a column at the top, and then it's got some areas down below. So this column at the top, or row at the top, I want to put a nice title in there. Well, if I come over here to basic modules, and you know, we've got the row layouts, we've got basic modules and advanced modules. So if I open up basic modules, you'll see I've got something called a heading. So I can just simply take and drag that heading and drop it into that single column area that I had. It immediately brings up the dialog box for that heading. So if what I want to do here on this heading is say oh, what do we want to say? Welcome to my page, or welcome to my site, to my website. Can't spell here. There, I'm trying to type too fast. So by doing that, and then I can save that, you'll notice now that I have welcome to my website at the top of the page. If I want to add in then maybe some text down in here, what I do is then go over to add content, and here again I've got basic modules. So let's take and let's put a text editor. I'm going to drag it and drop it. Now you notice as I'm moving this around, I can take my text editor and just drop it right into an area like this, which would create a new column that spans the entire width of these four cells. Or I can take and go over one of the cells, in which case it says it's going to put it inside of that column. So I'm going to drop it right here. And for the text here, we'll just say something about this site is all about caring for your cat. Hey, cats and dogs, everybody knows cats and dogs. This is a site all about caring for your cat, and then I'll save that. And you'll see that it's put that cell and that text right there. Now let's say if I wanted to put some text right here. Do the same thing. We'll add content. We'll come over to text editor, and I'll drop it right here. Here are some of the favorite treats my cat loves. Okay, we'll drop that in there. Do you see how this is being built? Is just by taking components. I set my rows and my columns, and then by taking modules and dropping into the different areas, I get to be able to start building my page. Okay, so now let's get a little bit more creative with this. Let's say what I want to do is add an image. The whole process is all the same. I simply come over to add content, and guess what? I've got a photo one right here, so I'm just going to take and drag this one, and I'm going to drop it right here in this cell. Now you'll notice what it brings up is a different dialog box. So this dialog box is specific to this component, and you'll notice that it's asking for selecting a photo. And it gives me different photo sources. So I can drop this down and just give a web location for the image, or I can select a photo, which is what I'll do here. And it says drop any files anywhere. This is your typical WordPress uploader. So I have an image here. I'm just going to drag it and drop it into my loader. And there's my image. And I'll just say select that photo and save. And you'll notice that that image is now in my builder. Now if I want to make that image a little bit larger, there's some things that I could do. If I took this image and just dragged it into here, oops, didn't actually make it bigger. I'm not sure, maybe the properties of the image are really small. That's probably what it is. Anyway, oops, yeah. If you look at this, the full size, it's only 183 pixels by 110. So I picked a bad image there, but that's okay. You get the idea in that you can move these things around. So I'm just going to move that image back into here. And now we're going to look at a couple other things. So down in the bottom here, obviously your page is going to look, maybe want to look a lot better than what this is. But I've got some things I want to put down in the bottom here. And I want to get a little bit more fancy with that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come to add content, but instead of selecting the basic module, I'm going to select an advanced module. Now you'll notice in the advanced module, you've got all of these different things that you can add in, all these different possibilities. So I don't really have a specific idea for this page right now. I'm just kind of playing around, but one of the things I might add in here is, let's say, a call to action or a call out. Let's make it a call out. So I'll just drag this call out down here. Now, call out is sort of like a text box and an image or icon all in one. So what we're going to do here is it's this combination. It's got a heading on it, so we'll put a heading in here. So maybe what I'm doing is something about favorite cat toys. So that sounds like a good idea. So I'm just going to go ahead and put favorite cat toys in here for my header. And down here I'm going to say my cat loves playing. My cat loves playing. Check out some of my favorite toys right here. Okay, so we have that in there. Now I can do several other things with this, but it is a call out. So what we're going to do is I'm going to come over to image. Now when we go into image, we have several different things we can do here. I can say I don't want any associated image. I can say I want a photo associated with this or an icon associated with it. Because I know I have a photo on this, I'm going to go ahead and select photo, and it's the same thing. I come down here, say select photo. I'm going to go over to my area here and drop in the photo that I want to use and say select photo. So now I have this. I'm not going to use full size. I'm going to use just a thumbnail on this. I'm not going to crop it. I'm going to put it above. And then say save. So now you can see that I have in there here, I've got an image with a header and some text underneath it. But if I'm looking at that, I don't really like where, how favorite cat toys, my image is kind of in the center, but favorite cat toys is not. So if I hover over this, you'll notice I can go in here and I can just click anywhere in here, or I can click on my callout settings, this little wrench icon. But if I just click in here, it brings that dialog box back up. And I'm going to go over to the image, and in position, it's got it above. Let's go over to style, overall alignment, and I'm going to change this instead of left. I'm going to say I want this to be centered and say save. And now you can see that everything is centered within that cell. So this is a great thing to have. Just to give you another example, let's drop something else in this other box. So maybe as I'm going through my site, I figure, well, we want to have, let's say, testimonial here. People love some of our products or some of our recommendations that we make. So we'll do an add content, and under the advanced, we have testimonials. Again, I'll just take and drag it, and I'll drop it right here, and it brings up the dialog box for testimonials. So let's just play around with some of these settings. Again, you're going to take a lot more care of your site design and everything, but this gives you just an idea, an overview of what can be done. So if we'll look at the testimonials, we can say, well, we've got a layout that we can have. We have a heading that we can put in there, transition speed. So this is a slider. And that right there tells me that it's going to change from and present different testimonials over time. So I'm just going to leave all the defaults, and I'll come over to testimonials, and I'll say edit the testimonial. Right here, this is the best cat toy. Elmer, who is the cat, loves it. Okay, so there's one testimonial. We'll go ahead and save that, and we'll add another testimonial. We'll go ahead and edit this one, and we'll say service was great. I had a question about allergy for my cat, and it was answered right away. All right, we'll save that one. Let's just throw one more in here. We'll call this testimonial. Um, the hairbrush was fantastic. It cleaned, oops, the couch, fantastic. All right, so there we have our testimonials, and we'll just go ahead and say save, and you can see then that we've got testimonials here, and you can see how it rotates those through. And again, it's the same thing. If you want to apply different stylings or whatever for it, we click the wrench. And if we go over to advanced, it gives us a lot of different types of stylings and such that we can have on it. Let's see if we've got something that doesn't really have what I was looking for there. I was looking for the alignment. We'd probably have to do that under advanced and apply some CSS on that. But anyway, so we have the idea with that. Now, let's see if we go back to our presentation and see what might be next. We've covered this page, talked about the widgets. Oh, we haven't actually dropped in any widgets, but it operates on the same basis. If we come over to the page and I do add content, what I can do then is open up WordPress widgets, and then under WordPress widgets it shows all the various things that we have for that. For instance, search. Let's just take and drop a search box in there and save that. So that gives us now the ability to search our website just by dropping that in. Let's say that what we want to do with this now is move some of these around. You notice I've got this area here, but there's all kind of together, right? It's all kind of scrunched together. So what if I wanted to add a little bit of separation on this? I'm going to take this row that we have here and I want to apply some type of different formatting to that. So what I've decided to do is I'm going to actually make a new row down here. So I'm going to add content. I'm going to come up to the rows and I'm going to add a 3-column row below this one. I want to create an actual brand new row. I'm going to drop that in there. That gives me my 3 columns, but you'll notice it's a separate area now from this area to this area. What I can do now is I can just simply take and drag and drop my call out down there. I'll drag my search widget down and I'll drag my testimonials down. That's rearranged, and then I'm going to go ahead and I'll just remove, by clicking the X, all these others. Now what you'll see is they're still somewhat close together. However, they actually fall into different rows because I have a row here and then I have a row here, and they're separate rows. Now just like each component, I can click on the wrench icon and bring up the properties for that particular module. I can also come up here with my cursor and get the row to pop up and click on the wrench icon. So now it's going to bring up the properties for the row. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to say I want this row to be full width instead of fixed width. And the other thing I want to do, just something very quick is I'm going to say, what is my background? I want a background on this, and I want to make it a color. And I'll come down here to color, and I'll just select my color. And let's say I want to make this just sort of a slight off-white. We'll put it like that. And you see how it changed in the background there. And I could make that, something else. I could make it a color. I can also add borders and whatever else on it for it. But we'll just leave it at this right now and say save. And you can tell right now then that added in some separation between this top area with this text here and then the bottom area where you're trying to call out various things like your testimonials and your favorite cat toys and such. And obviously you're going to pick an image that either has a transparent background or a color background that looks well or looks good with this. The other thing you want to note is that you can always add additional things in. So in our search box, I have a search box right here, and it's just kind of hanging out there. Nothing's around it. Maybe I want to give people an idea of, ask them to do something, right, in there. So again, I'll come over to add content. And in this case, again, what I'll do is I'm just going to go to my basic modules and add in a heading and drag this over. And you'll notice what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually drop it into the same cell with the search box, but I'm going to put it right above the search box. And we'll drop that in there. And for the heading, I'll say search our site. And now I know the search is left justified, but I'm going to probably want this one to be centered. So I'm going to move it to the center. And we'll just leave everything else as is and see how, well, actually I can see how it looks just simply by going over here. You can see search our site. So that looks great, and we'll say save. So that's an easy way to just drag and drop and add components and modules into your site. Okay, so we've covered these basic, advanced, and widget components as an introduction. You can kind of see how it's all put together. Then the next thing we want to look at is accessing the component actions. Actually, you've already seen that. And as all this slide is really doing is saying, as you hover your mouse over each specific component, it's going to bring you up this little toolbox, depending upon what you're hovering over. And the little crosshair is to move it, to move the component. The wrench is to get into its settings. And then there's these three others. And the symbols are pretty self-explanatory. This symbol is copy, so you can make an actual copy of the row. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's just jump right over here. And let's say I've got this area right here is what I like. It's got the basic layout that I like and everything, and I just want to just copy this thing and make a whole nother row of it exactly like this one. Because all I have to do is highlight the row and click duplicate. And you'll see now I have two rows. That's a great way to start out with something and get it kind of looking the way you like it and say, hey, this is great. I'm going to use that, and I'm just going to make another one. Because now I can go in and edit this one and just make the changes that I need, but all of the other settings are already done for me. The other thing that you'll notice on some of these is when you hover over it, like let's say I've got this box right here. You have this edit column button. And right here I have an edit column button. Right here I have an edit column. So what I can do is I can just come in there and say edit column. Actually, let's say I want to add in more. I can go to column settings, or I can say insert before, after, or reset the widths. I'll cover reset widths in a minute, but let's say I want to get 4 columns. I can just simply say insert column before, and you'll notice how it just readjusted the size of all of these and put another column here. So now instead of having a 4-column row, I now have a 5-column row. So there was one other thing that you might have seen in there, and that was adjust the width. If I'm hovering over a column right here, I have a handle on the side there. I have a handle on the side here. So if I want to make this just a very small box, I can just simply grab and drag it over. Same with this one. I can, oops, I clicked in there. I didn't mean to do that. I'll cancel that. And I can take and make that a much smaller column. Sorry, I keep clicking. Didn't mean to do that. That's one way to adjust the size of the columns. And so what this other setting means, when I go into edit columns, I can say reset column widths. When I click that, it takes all of the columns within this row and sets it back to the default for a 4-column row. So that's what that does. Okay, so now we know that those pennants are context sensitive, and you're going to play around with this when you get into it. You know, just make yourself a sample page and play around. It's not going to hurt anything. The other thing that's really nice about entreBuilder is its ability to have templates. Now, templates give you this great starting point where you can take a page and apply a template to it, and it lays out some nice professional layouts for you that are already done and gives you a great head start on building your page. Let's take a look at that. So I have my page right here, and it's like, well, okay, I'm just playing around with it, but geez, obviously it's not a very nice design or anything. So let's just go and clean everything out of this page. I'm just going to delete everything. I'll just remove this row, and we'll take this row and delete it, and we'll take this row and we'll delete it, and we'll take this row and we'll delete it. Hey, guess what? We're back to just my blank page, nothing on it. So I'm going to, in this case, I'm building a nice new page. I'm going to come up here to the templates button, click the templates, and now I've got several options. I have something called home pages up here, and I have something called content pages and your templates. I'm only going to cover home pages and content pages in this case. They're really very similar. And sometimes you wonder, well, why even bother having two of them? But they're slightly different. Home pages, don't let that word confuse you. It's not a home page in that only a website home page can be created with it. It's more just a style. It's more of a broader style. Says, hey, this has got some big features on it. You can see by these templates, it's got a nice big image and some other images here. Here's another nice one down here. If I scroll through this, it's got a bunch of different things. So, you know, home pages are you know, they're the big area type pages, the big impact type of pages. Content pages, on the other hand, are meant for very specific things. So you'll notice you have a personal contact page, or frequently asked questions, or just your blog standard page, or maybe a grid or a gallery. These are more content. They're content specific areas that you might want to put in for a page. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to a home page, and I'm going to grab one. Let's go ahead. Let's just go ahead and grab, oh, I don't think I've used this one before. We'll grab Grand. So as all I do is click it, and what happens is your entire page gets built and dropped just by clicking on that template. And each one of these areas is what? Guess what? It's just one of our modules. So you're free to edit it, You're free to replace it, free to do whatever you want to with it. But it gives you a great way to start your page and have a very nice looking page just with using that template. Now if I'm looking at this, and this is all great, I've got my page, I've got some call outs and action items, and I've got a little bit about our company and frequently asked questions. I got a call to action here with call us, and then I've got about us. What if I wanted to add something else in here? For instance, what if I wanted to kind of put in a gallery of something? What I can do, because these are all buildings, these are building blocks, I could come over and drop in a row and add a gallery for this. So for instance, let me just do this here real quick. I'll say add content. I'll do a row layout. I'll do one column. I'm going to drag it right above this image right here. I drop that there, and then I can come down. I will go to my advanced modules. I'll grab gallery and drop a gallery in there. So now I have a module, a row here, create a gallery. All right, so I'm going to pick that picture, say add to gallery, update gallery, and save. Now you'll see I've got my gallery of my cat toy and my mom and kitten picture. So that's this gallery I just added in there. However, another way to do it is to come up here to templates and go over to my content pages, and I'm going to look here and let's see what we got here. Oh gee, here's blog gallery. That's not actually going to show up very well because I don't really have blog pages yet. But maybe let's change this. I got our services. So let's say we want to put in a bunch of services there. I'm just going to select our services. Now you're going to get this, what do you like to do? Do you want to replace the existing layout? If I replace the existing layout, it's going to replace all this whole page that I've done, and that's not really what I want to do. What I want to do is I want to add this. So I'm going to append it. I'm going to append it to the end. So you'll notice now, if I come down here, now I have this, our services section, that has been added to the end of it. And what if I want to move that our services section above this picture? I'm going to remove this gallery here because I really don't need that. And I'm going to take this our services and move it up above that picture and drop it right in. And I'm going to go ahead on this row. I'm going to edit this, and I'm just going to make it a full width row here. So we're just going to come here. I'll do the fixed. I'll say full width. Let me add a little bit of separation here. So I'm going to come back down to my background. I'm going to say, well, we'll do a color again. And for the color, I'll do that same thing of just making a little bit off-white. And obviously, if you have a color palette or whatever that you like to use, you're going to add that in there for your branding and your theming. And I'll just say save that. So now you can see that that's done, and we'll just go ahead and remove this module, and there you go. So I'm going to say done with this, and when we say done, I'm going to publish my changes, and voila, here is your web page. The entreBuilder demo. We go down, we have all of these components with it. There's our frequently asked questions, here's our services, and we have our action items and such. So there you go. That's a quick introduction to entreBuilder. I hope you enjoyed it, and we'll get into more detailed stuff and detailed things you can do with it in later videos.